Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to cross the Øresund once again, and we're going back to Copenhagen in Denmark, a very good beer destination these days, as I've told you many a time, and we're going to have a look at a beer from a brewery that I have had many things from before, but I've just never been able to introduce any of them to you here on the channel actually, so hopefully you guys enjoy this one. For this review then, we are going to go to the meatpacking district in Copenhagen, and we're having a look at my first review from Warpigs Brewpub. So this beer is called Lockdown. It comes in at 5% ABV, and this one is a lager beer. So when I was in Warpigs a couple of weeks back, I picked up this one, and I got this mainly because of the name of it. It's just a kind of mark of the times actually. I thought this would be a kind of cool one to introduce for you, to use as an introduction to Warpigs here on the channel. And I have been going through a little bit of a lager phase as well actually, so yeah, I thought this one would be really cool. There was only 2 or 3 cans of this left as well, and I wasn't sure if it was a one-off brew. I hadn't seen it before. So yeah, that was another reason, and so all of these things just went together, and I decided to pick this one rather than the Helles and the stout that were there, which I think are regular beers. I'm sure I had seen those two a couple of times. But yeah, hopefully this makes for a nice introduction to Warpigs Brewpub, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well, and hopefully the beer turns out to be a nice one as well. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit more about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Warpigs Brewpub. You know, I probably will be able to get more of their beers at some point soon, but there's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Danish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to very regularly because I am so close to Denmark. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Warpigs Brewpub then, on to my brewery notes. So Warpigs Brewpub was founded back in 2015, and like I said to you earlier, it's based in the old meatpacking district in central Copenhagen, which has been really revitalised in recent times. There's a lot of kind of gourmet food places down there, and quite a bit of kind of craft beer activity as well, which is great. But this company is a subsidiary both of Mikkeller, the Danish gypsy brewery, and Floyds Brewing, who are from over in Munster in Indiana in America. And this is basically a brew pub combined with an American barbecue restaurant, and the cooking team is led by Adrian Claudio Lazar, who's apparently he's got a master certificate almost. He's a pit master basically, I think they call him, or a smoke master, I'm not quite sure, but he's a very talented chef, and I have to say I really love his food actually. So if you find yourself in Copenhagen, Warpigs has to be one of the places that you check out. The food there is just, you know, top notch. I always go and have a pound of pork, a pound of the pork stuff and things like that, and a bit of the mac and cheese. Those are my favourites so far. But yeah, for the first 2 years of Warpigs Brewpub, the brewing team was led by Kyle Wolak, who actually started out as a dishwasher at Floyds, worked his way into the brewing team, and then was appointed the head brewer of the new Warpigs back in 2015. He left in 2017 to go and work for Hill Farmstead, and he was replaced by the Singaporean Lan Shifu, who was a very good, highly rated brewer actually, and I think she has since moved on as well. She was replaced in 2019 by Chris Heist, who is still in place today from what I understand. To date, these guys have done over 400 different beers according to Untappd, and a small number of these have been canned and released as well. Some of them I think have also been brewed under license in the US. I want to say by Central Waters Brewing Company, because I think Floyds, their facility is brewing to capacity at the minute actually, so they've not been able to produce any of these beers on their site actually, but you can get some of these in the cans over in the US actually, which is pretty damn cool. But yeah, as I said to you, this is a subsidiary of both Floyds and Mikkeller. Mikkeller, as we know, were founded back in 2006 by Mikael Bjergso along with Christian Keller, hence the name. just a combination of their kind of Mikkel's first name, Christian Keller's second name. But these guys for many years operated as a gypsy brewery. They brewed their beers mainly in Belgium at the Proefbrouwerij, just outside of Ghent, and they brewed a number of they brewed some beers at the likes of Lervig in Norway. I think some were brewed at Brewdog in Scotland, and a few were brewed over in the States as well for a very short period of time. But in 2016 they took over AleSmith's former brewery in San Diego. Cough in there. They took over AleSmith's former brewery in San Diego when they moved on to a larger place, and then the following year they opened up another brewery at the home of the New York Mets. I think it's called Citi Field, and that does their East Coast operations actually. These days they've got bars across the world, the Mikkeller bars and the Mikkeller and Friends. They now have their blendery in Refelsholm, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, called Bauhaun, and that does some really, really interesting sour beers as well actually. The beers for that are brewed at down at the Warpigs Brewpub and then taken up by tank to be blended and aged in this facility at Bauhaun, which is pretty nice. They've got their own bar up there as well, which I do recommend that you check out. But yeah, like I say, bars across the world. If you do go to Copenhagen, I'd recommend that you check out Bauhaun. I would recommend Warpigs as well, and check out one of the RampantLionReviews locations as well. There's some really, really good food available from Mikkeller at the moment. Very, very authentic Japanese ramen actually, I have to say. Three Floyds on the other hand, as I mentioned to you, they're based in Munster in Indiana. They were founded back in 1996 by Mike Floyd and his two sons Nick and Simon, hence the name Three Floyds, and these guys are now producing around 10,000 US barrels of beer per year. I think they are trying to scale up at the moment actually with a new and bigger brewery, but they've built a hell of a reputation for themselves. These guys were one of the really hyped American breweries. I've actually been to their brew pub, but unfortunately the guys they got a bit shitty with me when I asked them if I could film a few tastings and stuff like that in the tap room, which I thought was really just I just wasn't impressed with that at all. But the guy in the bottle shop was great, and he gave me a number of different pieces of merch and things like that, which was great actually. So yeah, it was a mixed bag when I went to Three Floyds, but their beer is pretty damn good actually, and I've reviewed maybe 3 or 4 different things from them so far actually. But yeah, that's all I have to really tell you about the two breweries involved in Warpigs and about Warpigs itself. So if you want to learn more about any of these breweries, you can check out the brewery links in the description below. You can follow them all on Facebook and Instagram. Warpigs of course does have its own website and its own pages and stuff like this, so check out all of those as well. If you want to learn more about the different beers that they've done, I recommend that you check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages, and you can see a lot of information on those. Like I say, it's only a small number of them that are available in can, but Warpigs does a hell of a lot of collaborations and things like that these days as well. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about everything there. Let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So yeah, as you can see, the artwork on this one is pretty damn awesome, and when it's Warpigs, most of the food that you'll get in the Warpigs pub is pork based, which is, for me, is awesome. I absolutely love a good bit of pork. But yeah, 5% lager this one. The Lockdown, obviously named after the whole COVID-19 shit that we're going through this year in 2020. So yeah, without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. This one is a 500ml can. They've even got the American measurements on there. 16.9 fluid ounces. Never understand fluid ounces. Just use the metric system, America. Come on. It's based on water, the universal solvent, the thing that keeps us alive. Let's just use the metric system, America. Come on. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the taste, and then I'm curious to see what this beer has in store for us. We'll see if there's a wee bit of sediment there, just in case. But no, it looks pretty nice so far. I think that's a little over half that we have in the can here. So yeah, it looks pretty much as you would expect for a lager. So if we shine the light through this, it's a lovely kind of pale golden straw colour. There's a little bit of a light haze to it. You can see that there is a solid finger of a kind of frothy, I would say, perfect white head on this one. It does look really quite nice actually. There's 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head, but I mean overall it does look pretty damn nice actually. I like how this one, I do like how it goes together. It looks like a nice kind of hazy sort of Helles lager type beer. I'm not sure whether this one is going to be more of a Helles or maybe even a Czech Letzak Yeah, sorry, I checked Svetli, I should say. The Svetlis are the ones that are the more kind of pale ones. It's the late sacks that are the more amber ales, the more amber pilsners and stuff like that. Sorry, or amber lagers. God, brain is not working. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly what to expect in terms of this. They just call it a lager. They don't call it a Helles, a Svetli, or anything else actually. So yeah, it looks the part. You can see a nice bit of a perfect white head on this one, about a quarter to a third finger of frothy white head on this, and it's just fading away to be a very thin foamy layer now. So yeah, it looks really nice actually. So let's take a closer look at the aroma with this one and just see how we get on then. I'm really curious to see what this beer has in store. Oh yeah, this one's definitely more of a yeah, this one's a sort of kind of, it's like a kind of pale lager almost. Yeah, it kind of comes across as somewhere in between a Pilsner and a sort of Helles almost. It's definitely leaning more towards that kind of Pils side of thing, to be honest with you. So yeah, straight away with this beer, when you check out the aroma, you definitely get a bit of that kind of Pilsner malt crispness coming out of it. You can smell a little bit of a bready quality just kind of coming out underneath it, which is quite interesting. And it's that kind of typical wet bready note that you get from these more Pilsnery leaning beers. There's a wee bit of biscuity sweetness to this one in fairness, but I'd say this is really a more kind of bready and Pilsner malty leaning lager. At the back of the nose you really get that almost Pilsnery type crispiness out of the beer. And then as you move into the kind of middle of the nose almost, that's where you get that wee touch of a sort of McVitie's digestive biscuity sweetness. There's not really too much else to report on this one in terms of the malty side of things. That's it. As I say, a bit of a kind of bready note, a little bit of a wet bready note at that, some of the kind of more Pilsner crisp notes, and you've also got a wee bit of a McVitie's digestive biscuit sort of thing, like I said. So yeah, quite interesting. But yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of things then, there's a bit of that kind of light earthiness in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if it's German hops that are in this. Maybe something a little bit stronger than the straight up Hallertau or Tettnangers. I think maybe, you know, Pearl or Hercules or something like that's probably being used in here, because it does have that German noble hop to it. It's a little bit brighter as well, so they might have used like Sats or something like that, or Jatets as the Czechs call it. So it might have something like that in there. The floral notes on this beer are actually quite bright, and that's what's making me say there might be a bit of Czech hop in this one. But it's got a nice little bit of a lighter grassiness to it as well. But I'd say overall it's quite a floral and aromatic-y kind of note you get out of the green side of the hops in this beer. And on the fruity side of things, there's a wee bit of that kind of almost lemony, zesty sort of thing. There's a bit of that apple sort of peary kind of ester in this one. It's got a really nice kind of roundness to it, this beer actually. It smells like a very bright, fresh and kind of summery type lager beer, to be honest with you. The fruits, like I say, a little bit of an appley note to it, a little bit of a kind of a little bit of a sort of peary ester as well. Then you've got a wee bit of that typical kind of grassy zestiness to it as well. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck into it. But we're going to have a taste of this now and see how we get on. This one is called Lockdown. It's a lager beer coming in at 5% ABV from 3 Floyds and Mikkeller's collaboration pub Warpigs in the meatpacking district over in Copenhagen. Highly recommend that you go to Copenhagen and check out some of the beer destinations, and Warpigs should definitely be top of the list for that. But let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. Oh yeah, that's really solid. Is it the kind of craziest beer and things you're going to get from Warpigs? Definitely not. You know, there are some crazy things out there that these guys have done. I always remember a barley wine that they had called Sky Burial, and that was beautiful. I do need to see, I don't know if Kiosk still had some of the big bottles of that actually, because Sky Burial was a beautiful barley wine from what I remember. But yeah, the flavour that you get out of this for a lager beer, it really is quite nice. It's one of these really crisp, just really kind of sessionable summer lagers actually. It's very rare that I session beer outside of, I don't even session beer at all, I don't know what I'm saying outside of. I don't session beer really these days. Pretty much all the beer that I buy is reviewed for you here on the channel. So yeah, but this is one that you could definitely knock a few back of actually. Very rarely I'll drink beer outside of YouTube, to be honest with you. You know, unless I go to a place where there's some nice traditional German stuff or whatever, then yeah, it's very unusual that I would actually drink some of these different beers, yeah. But yeah, in terms of a lager beer, this one is pretty solid actually. It is kind of in between the sort of Helles kind of style thing, the sort of Munich Helles, and the more kind of Pilsner, kind of more crisp and light Pilsner sort of thing actually. So yeah, this one comes across really nicely, to be honest with you. So yeah, let's see, how can we break down the flavour then? Straight away with this beer you get that lovely kind of lighter bready malty quality. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. And you can feel that as you go further into the aftertaste, it's a little bit more of a it is a little bit more of a kind of wetter bready character that you get out of this one. So yeah, you can feel, yeah, that kind of bready base, there's definitely a bit of pale malt in this, but that bready pale malty base just blankets the middle of your tongue, and as you go towards the back third of your palate there, you can definitely feel that more kind of crisp, almost pilsnery type malt coming out of this one. It really gives you that kind of wet, bready type quality to this beer, and this is really easy to drink, this one, I have to say that about it. Very, very easy beer to drink. But yeah, there's not much else to report about the backbone of the beer than that. Kind of pale malty base, a little bit more of a kind of pilsnery crispness there, and the more you go in, the further you go into the flavour with this one, the middle of your mouth just kind of moistens up, and that malt backbone feels a little bit wetter rather than anything else. So that's definitely an interesting point to make about this beer. But yeah, I like how this one goes together. It gets a thumbs up from me. But yeah, in terms of the kind of sweetness, you do get a little in the back third of your palate. You can definitely feel that the beer kind of thickens up a little bit. You do get a few more kind of grainy notes out of it. But yeah, as you move further forward into the kind of middle third of your tongue, you can feel it is just a little bit lighter. There is more of a kind of crispness to it. There is definitely more of a kind of lighter, kind of crisp quality to the beer, which is really interesting. But then in the very centre of your palate, you do get a wee touch of a slightly caramelly sweetness. But as you move further out from the centre of the palate, you do get more of a kind of biscuity, McVitie's digestive sort of thing there. Yeah, I like how that goes together actually. There is just a little bit of that biscuity sweetness there in the middle of the palate, and I would say that it becomes slightly more pronounced the further that you go into the aftertaste with the beer. On the hoppy side of things then, I think we've really covered all we need to when it comes to the malty side of things. There's maybe one or two little slightly woody undertones to the beer on the if you go to the front corners of your palate directly and kind of diagonally back, you will get a few little woody undertones to the beer. But yeah, hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, there's a little touch of earthiness to this one. As you come further forward along the sides of the palate, you'll get more of a kind of floral, aromatic-y kind of thing coming out of this one, which is actually really quite nice. I like how that goes together. Yeah, it does have a little bit of a stronger bitterness to it, this one, which does make me wonder if I was right about, you know, maybe Pearl or Hercules or something like that being used in this beer. It could be an American hop or something like that too. I'm not sure if it would be. It could be a combination of you know, Hallertau and a bit of Sats. I do wonder if there is a bit of Sats or something in this Jatitz, because it has that. It really does have more of a. It has a really bright floral character to it, and that for me was always one of the characteristics of the Jatitz hop. It could be. There's Polish hops like Lubelski and things like that. You've also got the Styrian hops like Dana and things that do similar to different beers as well, so keep that in mind. But yeah, it's got a lovely kind of floral brightness to it, but as you go round the front curve of your palate, there's a little bit of a lighter kind of grassiness to this beer, which comes across really nicely as well. And yeah, the fruity side of this beer is quite interesting too, because it gradually gets more and more prominent, I think, and more kind of citrusy and zesty the further that you go into the aftertaste too. But yeah, nice little bit of lighter grassiness there around the front curve of your palate. But let's focus on that front third of the tongue now, where the fruity esters come out of the beer. So yeah, for me, this one, it's got the fruitiness. It has quite a, you know, it has a good flavour that lingers there, but at the same time it comes across as really wet and juicy almost. So yeah, when you go towards the back of that front 30 pack, you do get a little bit of a stronger kind of almost lemony citrus there, and as you come further forward, that lemony citrus kind of thing just pushes its way kind of further forward. You get a wee bit of a sort of limey. There is a wee touch of an almost limey note coming out of this one, but you can feel as you go further into the aftertaste, it's got a little bit of an appley, kind of peary ester to it, but then as you reach the very kind of front edge of the tongue, you'll get a little bit of an almost limey oiliness to it. Then on the very edge of the front, you know, the front part of your tongue, you get some really zesty kind of floral, you know, you get some really nice zesty lemony citrusy notes coming out of it again actually. So the fruity notes in this beer really make a good transition, like slightly stronger citrus to a more kind of appley peary ester. And as you reach the front tip of the tongue, a little bit more oily and limey, then a nice kind of lemony zesty quality on the front part of it again too. So yeah, this one I think is a really quite solid lager beer. This in that sense, I like how it's really well blended. One, you know, at the same time as being very smooth, it's got a nice little bit of fruity zestiness to it, and it also has some nice kind of fruity, juicy characteristics as well. Actually, so thumbs up to Three Floyds and Mikkeller for pulling off this one with Warpigs and the Warpigs Brewpub team, the Warpigs Brewpub team. Ugh, my brain's really not working here, but yeah, this is a lovely lager beer in terms of its flavour. I like this one. It'd be a shame if they, it would be a shame if this was only like a one-off brew, but I've got a feeling it might be. They produce a lot of different stuff there at Warpigs, of course, so I don't know if they just rotate different recipes and rebrew some of the old ones and things like that, or exactly what they do. But yeah, only a small number of the beers do make it into cans, but you can go to the brew pub and yeah, you can go to the brew pub and actually, you know, get crowlers and growler. Is it growlers or crowlers? I can't remember, but you can get beer to take away basically from the brew pub, which is great. But yeah, definitely a place, as I say, that I would recommend you go. Mouthfeel then. I would actually say this is a very smooth, and it's one, you know, very smooth but also slightly oily lager beer actually. This one, the carbonation does have a good bit of crispness to it, but at the same time the beer in some ways comes across as quite oily, but also very smooth at the same time. It's definitely one of the more oily lagers that I've had in recent times, and it goes down really nicely. In terms of the hoppy bitterness, I think this one is a sort of 25-ish IBU beer. Could be 30 to be fair, because there is a wee bit of that floral spice there, but yeah, maybe about 25-ish, 30 IBUs. The malt base is quite kind of smooth and bready. Like I said, there's a little touch of sweetness to it. The sweetness comes out a little bit more in the aftertaste, and the fruitiness does have a good bit of citrusy, zesty note to it, but also a little bit of a kind of juicy, fruity kind of thing as well. So I really like how that goes together, and yeah, it has a really nice makeup, this one for a lager beer. I've really enjoyed this one. I always enjoy my lagers, as I say, but this one has turned out to be pretty nice actually. So yeah, glad I was able to pick up a can of this when I was in Warpigs, and I will make sure that I do that every time I'm over there. I will try and get at least one more can of the different Warpigs beers to bring back and review for you. I always enjoy picking up a few Danish things when I head over there actually, so yeah, that's something that I will definitely be keeping on top of when I next make it over. I'm not sure when my next trip to Copenhagen will be. It'll probably be sometime in October actually. I'll probably get over there a little bit for a couple of days in October or something like that, so fingers crossed we can go to Warpigs again. And I'll pick up a few more Danish beers for you as well. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Lockdown, a lager beer at 5% ABV from Warpigs Brewpub in the Meatpacking District in Copenhagen. A really, really nice example of the style, this one. Definitely a little bit more kind of floral and bitey and stuff like that than some of the other lagers, but also really nice and smooth, but at the same time quite oily as well. So an interesting composition, this one. But thumbs up to Warpigs, and you will see more reviews from these guys in the near future. But yeah, thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Warpigs as well. Give me an idea of what ones I should look out for, because I know they are rotating the cans quite often. So yeah, I will make sure that I get some more Warpigs beers for you at some point fairly soon. So yeah, thank you again for watching. Check out my social media. Go to Warpigs if you find yourself in Copenhagen. You will definitely not regret that, and you will see more reviews from Mikkeller quite soon, I'm sure, and hopefully we can get a few things from Three Floyds a little bit later as well. But yeah, thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Slange, skull, cheers.